Welcome back to Grumpy Vet Garage. On the channel, I've been going over stock location turbo upgrades for the Gen 2 B58. The videos have received a positive response from viewers like yourself, but also generated questions. Questions about the Dynamic Autowerx Hypercore and how it performs as a B58 turbo upgrade. So today, I'm going to go over the Dynamic Autowerx Hypercore. First, we need to look at what the Hypercore is. It is a drop-in turbo upgrade for Gen 1 and Gen 2 B58s. Dynamic Autowerx characterize it as an ultimate OEM replacement core for those looking to maximize performance without sacrificing drivability. They list this upgrade as a core because it doesn't completely replace your turbocharger. It's a new center section and new compressor side of a turbo, but still utilizes the factory exhaust manifold / turbine housing. They promote that the core is easy to install and it utilizes your factory V-band clamp that holds the center section and compressor side of your factory turbo in. You reuse that clamp, but then you still need to move over oil and coolant lines and of course change seals to complete the installation. The Hypercore has a forged billet compressor wheel and also uses a Garrett GTX style turbine wheel. Dynamic Autowerx says that the Hypercore is designed, machined, VSR balanced, which is vibrating sorting rig balanced, and assembled in the United States. This is great for quality control, but this is also the same process for all other Dynamic Autowerx new construction turbos. For size comparison, the OEM turbocharger has a compressor inducer of 50 millimeters and is a 6-blade compressor wheel, and then has a turbine exducer of 50 millimeters and is a 10-blade turbine wheel. The Hypercore from Dynamic Autowerx is 7 millimeter larger in the compressor inducer, so a 7 millimeter larger compressor wheel that is a 9-blade compressor wheel compared to the 6 blades of the OEM. And then the turbine exducer is 50 millimeters, just like the OEM turbocharger, but it is a 9-blade wheel compared to the factory 10-blade. Dynamic Autowerx markets that this core is capable of offering 12 to 14% more power capability over the stock turbo while maintaining fast spool and excellent throttle response. Osprey Performance in the United Kingdom is one of the shops that has the most experience with the Hypercore, and they have a lot of high praise for the Hypercore. They claim to have made 619 wheel horsepower using the Hypercore. They didn't provide any build sheets of how the configuration of the car was when it made 619 wheel horsepower, or even what fuel was being used. I'm assuming it's some sort of race fuel or ethanol, but because they really didn't give a lot of information other than a 619 wheel horsepower number, I somewhat take the information with a grain of salt. Additionally, they talk about using a stock turbo Gen 1 B58 that they had tuned and made 450 wheel horsepower, and then, without changing the tune, swapped in a Hypercore and was able to then make 477 horsepower. In their experience and use with the Hypercore, Osprey Performance claims that you can pick up 15% horsepower over stock when you install a Hypercore with custom tuning. They also said the power band using the Hypercore is very similar to that of the stock turbo, just more power all the way across the power band. In summary, they say that they think it's an economical solution for people who want to make about 420 horsepower on 93 octane pump gas and around 550 wheel horsepower on E30 to E40 in a street car configuration. So that's all the readily available information I was able to find on the Hypercore, plus the opinion of a reputable shop that's used the Hypercore. But as with all of my other previous turbo videos, I want to give you some more real world dyno data to kind of quantify whether or not the Hypercore is a good turbo upgrade for your B58. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of documented dyno data with individuals using the Hypercore. I was able to find one instance of someone dynoing using the Hypercore. but they didn't even use DME tuning. They were tuning using a JB4. While I'm not personally a huge fan of the JB4, it is proven to increase performance and power in a vehicle rather than doing an unlock and DME tuning. But the good thing about this example is they have a before and after. So still tuned on with a JB4, but there is a stock turbo number and an installed with a Hypercore with the same car. So as you can see, the whole setup of the car is the same. The only difference is the Hypercore, a little bit of difference in the ethanol, but I don't think it's a drastic amount of difference. But before the Hypercore was installed, they were making 450 wheel horsepower, which on stock turbo is pretty good. But after, they made 494 wheel horsepower. So clear results of a 44 wheel horsepower increase, roughly a 10% increase in horsepower by installing the Hypercore. So seeing the marketing from Dynamic Autowerx and from Osprey Performance, they're going that like 12 to 15% horsepower increase by installing the Hypercore. I figure the best way to approach the lack of documented dyno data is to look at what stock turbo performance would be, and then we can try to estimate what benefit you would get from installing a Hypercore upgrade. So here is all the data I was able to find. Stock turbo Gen 2 B58s, some using 93 octane pump gas, some using 93 with meth, also some E-blends, some conservative ones around E30, and then slightly more aggressive E50, and then E50 with meth injection. So looking there at the data, we could see stock turbo performance, 93 octane on the bottom end, making 453 horsepower, which for a stock turbo is still really good. And then E50 with meth injection making 544 horsepower, which again on a stock turbo is pretty impressive numbers. So trying to keep the power estimates a little more realistic, I've decided to go with a 10%. I still think that could be a little optimistic, but with a 10% increase in power, that 93 octane, 453 horsepower output would then turn into 498 horsepower. And then the E50 with meth injection that was 544 horsepower with a 10% power increase, we're talking 598 horsepower, which is pretty impressive. Additionally, to try to put this in perspective, the Hypercore being able to make on E50, let's say 550 to 598 horsepower, is roughly equivalent to the performance you could expect by installing a Pure 800 and running 93 octane pump gas. So ultimately, my opinion of the Hypercore is positive. I think it's for people that are wanting to maintain stock transmission, stock fuel system, and then on 93 octane, probably trying to make somewhere between 480 to 500 horsepower, and then on E30, trying to make somewhere around 520 to 540 wheel horsepower. And I think that really wouldn't even be pushing the setup. I think with more aggressive tuning, a more aggressive setup, more supporting mods, I think it's possible that the Hypercore could support over 600 horsepower, but I think that would be the limits. So the 619 wheel horsepower talked about by Osprey Performance, I think is possible, but I think right there at that knife edge limit of what the Hypercore is capable of doing. Another thing that I think the Hypercore would be good for would be a simple OEM turbo replacement. If your OEM turbo on your Gen 1 or Gen 2 B58 is going bad, the cost of turbos, even factory turbos, aren't free. They're not inexpensive. And I think the Hypercore actually is a very good option for just replacing a soon to be failing, potentially, factory turbo. So it's a positive whether or not you're trying to make a little bit of performance, but you got to be realistic of how much performance you're really going to be capable of, but also simply an OEM replacement upgrade, like an OEM plus upgrade. So what do you think of the Hypercore? Is this something that you would want to use, a turbo upgrade that you would want to use on your B58 build? If so, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. But if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to Grumpy Vet Garage. liking this video, sharing this video. To support the channel, we have a Grumpy Vet Garage merch store. Link to that store is in the video description. Additionally, we have affiliate marketing links in the video description. Using those links to make any purchase directly supports the channel. I would like to thank everybody that's been using those affiliate marketing links. All of the shopping that you've been doing has definitely been helping the channel, and I appreciate it. Thank you. If you want to contact me, you can do so through the comment section of this video or through our Facebook or Instagram page. Link is in the video description. But as always, thanks for coming and seeing me in my garage. And until next time, have a good one.